Good afternoon. It's our 3 p.m. as usual, Saturday. The outside of the office, the weather is really nice and hot. So I hope that you're sitting on the lawn and turning on your cell phone and listen to the webinar if you are interested in this topic. Today, we are talking about DOL audit. And sometimes people refer that as a DOL investigation. Whether it is audit or investigation, the level of scrutiny, the procedures, the processes are very similar to Internal Revenue Service audit, IRS audit. So let me explain that to you. A lot of time when you got the letter from Department of Labor, this is DOL stands for Department of Labor. When you get a letter from them, obviously you want to know what kind of audit you are getting, right? What kind of compliance review or investigation you are getting into. The most popular ones related to small business owners, people like you and me, it is related to Department of Labor wage and hour division audit or investigation, which is related to the payroll, which is related to work overtime, which is related to tips distribution, which is related to back wages that you owe to the employee. So all of that, and when you got the letter, and a lot of times we would get calls from our folks asking, should we come to you or we should go get a lawyer, and what should we do because the letter looks very court-like, very legal-like, right? So let's go through the process. What I want to do in this hour is to give you the understanding of Department of Labor's wage and hour division investigation and audit process. Then you decide, because there's no right or wrong answer. And if you want me to conclude this webinar today, right now, I would say depends. And that's not a good answer, right? You want an answer, so I am going to give you the process. Then you can see where and when and how you would get the help from professionals. Let's get going. So DOL audit, how lawyers and CPAs can help. Really important to know that. And before I begin, I always run through couple slides just to brag about our firm, right? CommunityCPA.com, this is our website. And on this website, you can click on board with us, which will lead you to register yourself, become our client. You literally can do that at midnight if you don't have time during the day. Of course, our office open on Saturday regularly, so you literally can get a hold of us on Saturday. And then, of course, you can also click the appointment button, which you will see our 6 partners, and you can make appointment with us. Our schedule will be shown. You literally can make appointment. I know when you go online to make appointment, people give you 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and half an hour the most. Our appointment is 45 minutes to an hour. So we really are there to answer your question. We're not marketing anything to you. We just really want you to know our time is valuable, and we want to give you our valuable time as well. Here, this is our YouTube channel. This is how it looks like, and logo is a circle logo. You can't miss it. When you type in Community CPA, you will get us. Subscribe to the channel will give you the acknowledgement every time we have a webinar coming up. That will kind of not only maybe trigger you to be interested in the topic, but also give you an idea what is out there. You are a business owner, and what do you know? You know your industry, you know your own business. But do you know all the other 12,000 businesses out there who also work with us? What are they doing? So what we are talking about is always a topic that is hot. We feel the temperature for you first. Then we bring the hot potatoes to you. It's just burning hot. We have to explain to you so you can be prepared. Now, you can go to our YouTube channel to look at all the topics we had from the past. Okay, and after today, this topic will be on YouTube channel as well, so you always will have it there. And our firm, I would not spend any time, you know us, if you don't spend some time to look at our website, look at our YouTube channel, and get familiar with us because we're important to you. And I have 2 books. As usual, I tell people still have 2 books that I need to write, and I did not get it out yet. And my book is all about business. I'm talking about beginning your business, grow your business, expand your business, then retiring from your business. So the expansion of the business and retiring from the business are the 2 books I didn't really get out yet. But the first 2 are here. All right, no responsibility disclaimer. Everything we talk about here is really based on our experience, our research. Time can, expire those content, and our opinion could be different or even wrong. And whatever that is, I want you to take responsibility to learn the topic, do your own discovery. Internet is available to everybody, right? So learn on your own and confirm our knowledge before you act on it. And that's why we always put this no responsibility disclaimer on here, because our webinar is free and we're offering free opinion to you. And we do our research already. We did our best. That's all I can guarantee you. All right, why are business owners wondering? Like when they got the letter, why do they wonder? And I want to show you the letter. So this is the initial letter that you would get from the DOL. I already kind of blacked out the areas that's sensitive. So it's a typical letter, and it's coming from boilerplate. The investigator from DOL, they just give you this letter. So the letter tells you that which division is auditing you, wage and hour division, okay? Then they ask for things, ask for legal document, ask for home address record, and all your payroll stuff. And here, number 5, a copy of time card, and, matching payroll record. So all of these they're asking, 11 of them. Then they tell you the time you got to give to them and the things like that. This is the initial letter. Because it comes through like this, it doesn't really look like a IRS audit letter. That's why a lot of times folks don't know whether do I look for a lawyer or I look for a accountant. So the DOL audit, which we are talking about today here, is for the hours and the wage division. We're not talking about 401k compliance audit, which is another audit a small business owner also are getting. So if you have a company-sponsored retirement plan, and DOL can come to audit to make sure that you are not cheating the benefit just for yourself, but you're actually giving it to all the people that qualifies for the benefit. So that's part of the audit for the labor side of fairness, right? So these are the 2 audit, at our firm we see most often, but wages and hours are the majority of the DOL audit. So DOL audit, the wage division, they also are targeting a certain industry. They don't go to audit Wells Fargo. They really do not. They audit small businesses, and especially in the food industry, and especially in the hospitalities and the manufacturing. They're auditing that because you got a lot of hourly wages earners, right? So that is kind of the target industry. So that's why the small business owner often get these kind of notice, because you're small, you're doing small businesses. Majority of the small business, you have employee that paid hourly. Right? Many business owners are unsure about where to call, how to call, who to talk to when this letter is arriving. So this is why we want to bring it to you and help you to make that right decision. And this audit can be time consuming and legally complex. That's why business owner think of going to the attorney. And in this webinar, we explain the ins and outs of these type of audit, and that will help you to understand how and when you need a who to help you. All right. And what is the DOL Fair Wage Labor Audit? What is that audit? That audit, the purpose of that audit is to ensure proper record keeping and the payroll practice. So the investigator come to verify that employees are paid at least minimum wage, not just federal minimum wage. If you are in the city with a higher minimum wage than the federal, and that investigator would implement the minimum wage of your city. 10 years ago, it was not like that. 10 years ago, the DOL only cared about the federal minimum wage. But with the discrepancies, the disparities between the city and even county and state and the federal government, layers of government imposing different minimum wages. So it's becoming very complex, but that's what they're auditing. They want to make sure that the laborers are paid fairly with minimum wage. Overtime pay must be there. Overtime pay is calculated on 40 hours per week. And you cannot be like, oh, I pay bi-weekly, so 80 hours. And if the first week the person worked 80 hours, but the next week the person works 0 hours, it is still 80 hours on the 2 weeks, so I'm good. No, you are wrong. And in this case, you need to pay literally 2 weeks and a half to 3 weeks salary to that person because your 80 hours has a 40 hours overtime. So with that said, overtime is a big deal in DOL labor audit. And the employee classification is also a one. They want to make sure that, oh, do you have anybody you paid with a contract? You say yes. And then they may reclassify that contractor to be your employee, so you have to pay overtime. Then they want to look at your record keeping. Do you have a time card? You better say yes. Or you have something to track your time card, right? And do you have underage laborers working in your kitchen? Please don't do that. So make sure that you really are watching not to hire anyone under 18 that work in your kitchen. So with that said, then you want to say that, okay, if I get audited by DOL investigator and what they're trying to find, I made a list of that for you. They're trying to find you failing to maintain the record of overtime. Because you fail to maintain that record, you know what the investigator would do? They will, based on what other people say, if one of your employee or one of your disgruntled employee tell the investigator that everybody work 80 hours a week here, then the investigator will base on that because you have no record, right? So they will based on that to have you pay overtime like crazy. Okay, I say like crazy, and you want to know what that kind of charge would be. It will be millions, not even a million, for the small employer, and you might as well just bankrupt. And good luck for writing off these debts. Sometimes you can write off those charges. So salary, they also look at your salaried employee. If you pay your cook on one lump sum number, you go, that's salary. You are asking for trouble. So investigator want to know if this is a hourly labor job, you cannot pay salary. The worst part for our business owner is to claim, oh, that salary already calculated overtime. I know they're gonna do overtime, for 5 more hours every week. So I calculated in. But if you don't have that in writing, if nobody prove that is true, then the investigator will calculate your salary as 40 hours. Since they always work 5 hours more, then they will use the increased hourly rate and times 1.5 to calculate the amount you owe to your employee. All right? unlawful documentation against employee, from their wages, unlawful deduction from their wages, which is like a uniform, you broke my dishes, and the things like that. They're looking for that. Okay, they're looking for insufficient tips that make your employee fail below minimum wage. So that is what they're looking for. And they also looking for undocumented immigrant workers. And the DOL investigator will refer you to ICE. ICE will come to raid your restaurant because you have people you pay in cash, they don't have status, and you are supporting them and staying in your restaurant working for you, and the business owner subject to 10-year prison sentence for harboring illegal criminals working in the restaurant. That is literally the words that picked out of those charges. It's not I'm making it up, okay? I'm not that creative. Actually, I'm very boring. I just know what happened. And you want me to predict? I can't even predict because I only understand what's going on. Non-documented workers and, report them to ICE, resulting immigration raid on the business. This is what I'm saying. So this is what Department of Labor investigator coming to look for. So you may say that, well, what make them coming to look for these things? What happened? Why? And why? A lot of time, these kind of audit are coming from whistleblowers, means that someone who worked for you or still working for you are filing complaints with Department of Labor, saying that you are not paying worker fairly. So whistleblower was one of the biggest one in the past. But right now, just 2025, ever since President Trump became the president, if you ask me, is that still the case? I am not sure. I think it is more related to documentation. If someone realized that you hire a lot of undocumented worker, then that could easily become a rumor and gather some wind over to you. Or if you are a large business and they just want to raid you and figure out, or they just want to investigate you, make sure that you're only hiring the proper people, right? So the DOL also, they also come by industry. So here I said that example includes daycare facilities and a restaurant and the garment factories, healthcare agencies, motel hotels, janitorial services, and the guard services and agriculture job. It is all the one that who does hourly pay. So those kind of jobs or businesses can easily subject to this kind of audit. Of course, over time, if they had audit on you before, several years ago, they come to audit you again. It's very likely. We have one business get audited by DOL the third time. Then that third time broke the camel's back and the business went bankrupt. So they do come back. If you were not clean in the first audit, they can come back the second time. What happened during the DOL audit? So number one, they send you the initial letter to tell you we're coming. Usually they give you 10 to 14 days deadline to come up with all your document. Then you submit the document. The document you submit includes payroll record, time card, and the schedules, like the work schedules, and the job description and the classification, independent contractor agreements and their W-9, and also employee handbook or policies if you have any. So these are the things they're trying to establish a baseline to see whether likely or not you would have a violation. So they are asking for document. After they got the document, or even before they get the document, they do a on-site visit, and they for sure have a local DOL investigator to come on site to visit. That visit could be known to you or unknown to you. So if the case hasn't really opened and they're trying to investigate you, they probably already went there to eat a couple of times, know who is working there, and even asked about how many people in the kitchen and things like that, right? So, or after the case is open, they will come, they will interview the people there, and they will get your permission to interview these people when he comes in. So the investigation can take all kind of form, and it's not necessarily just has to be on paper, and you don't see the investigator don't see you. No, they see you. They also conduct employee interview, and that part, this interview, you as a business owner is not allowed to intervene, even if you are next to the employee. So they will ask the employee about how they got their tips, how they worked, how much hours they do, what break they take, and what kind of job they do. So they want to make sure they cover all the angles, right? They want to assess overtime pay. They want to assess your, whether you are exempt or non-exempt employee. So are you paid hourly or you're paid by a lump sum? So they want to assess all of that. They also want to calculate the overtime hours. If you don't have a record, they will calculate for you. So they will ask your employee how long you go for a break. Your employee is a hardworking employee. Even during his or her break time, he might just sit around. If there's any need for help, and he'll help. So the person's answer might be, oh, I don't take my break. I always available to help out. And they may say that, just good ethical, good work ethic, a kind of employee you have. But that statement alone will end up causing you thousands, $10,000, $100,000 additional payment that need to go out to the employee for all the break time they didn't take, which will be 3 years or whatever many years they're auditing you, so will be a big number. So this is the investigator would give you. I have that on the screen for you. They are presenting to you, and you can see that you have in here, you have the employee's name and possibly employee's address and the time they worked for you. If they investigate you for 3 years, it could be all 3 years. Then they want to show you that the amount you due to the employee. So that $11,670.43 right there, that is what the investigator calculated how much you would actually need to pay back to the worker because you did not pay overtime, or you didn't really pay the minimum wage, whatever come up, right? And in here, it is also possible to include the tips that's supposed to go to this employee and didn't go. So in any case, this is the money you literally, the investigator believe you owe to the employee. Then you see the number got doubled. That's liquidated damage thing that a DOL created. I actually don't understand the liquidated damage. These are two English words. I don't know how to translate that into a common sense meaning, and you just consider that to be a damage to the employee. So what the government does to you is liquidated damage. It is almost like converting the damage to liquidity, which is the cash. So they actually times 2 on that amount. So you owe this employee $23,000. And this kind of assessment for some of our business equals to a couple $1 million. That is the assessment. So this is where I want you to know that, that's what the investigator is doing. So now you stop, right? So you got the letter, and the payroll was done by your daughter, and so you didn't know what to do, and now you got this one, and you felt like, oh, the investigator was so friendly, and he just coming into my restaurant and sitting with me, and we have some nice food to eat, and after that he meet with a couple of employees, and really no big deal. Then suddenly this dropped on you. you're like, oh, I didn't know why I owe that much. So this is where you will pause and to decide maybe you need a professional. So this is a lot of times is where when we take on cases like in our firm, a few, I wouldn't say a lot of time because it's not like we have 100 cases, no. And the cases that we have, sometimes the business owners are not our client. So they have never done any work with us, but they got into this step. They got the investigator to give them a big bill. They got really, really scared. They didn't know how they got there. And so they come to us. So that is where the business owner will struggle. Do I call lawyers or do I call CPAs? Maybe you need to call. My answer to you is maybe you need to call both. But let me explain to you how you should go about. So which stage is for which professional? Let's just study this. Because your daughter is the one run the payroll. So she is your internal bookkeeper, right? She does the payroll work for you. So you got her to show you all the payroll record. Now, you don't need to hire anybody to do the payroll. She can still do your payroll, right? But maybe you realize some problems because you know that you are paying somebody fixed salary, but actually should be hourly. And you also know that, oh, maybe the tips wasn't divided properly. Maybe you know these problems already before you even gone through, before you look at this assessment. Then this is the time you want to hire a professional CPA firm to do what we call the payroll compliance review. You want to know your damage. You want to know how you are, where you are, to at least be prepared mentally, right? So you want a professional CPA firm who understand the right way to run payroll, to fulfill all the regulation requirement, and to do a payroll compliance review for you and tell you exactly what you didn't do correctly. Some of those things can be corrected even before you go to the investigator. But some of the things, because the investigation period covers the past, so some of them maybe you cannot. But in either case, you want to understand how your payroll is. So the CPA will verify, calculate. In this case, when you already get this kind of assessment, your professional CPA firm, like Community CPA, our team, we would already requested DOL for assessment calculation. Where is the number come from? Then they will have to explain to us. So based on what they did mathematically, and we can go in to verify minimum wage. We have cases not so long ago. The auditor only understood the federal minimum wage and did not know the city minimum wage. So the calculation was actually wrong. So we actually help to correct that calculation. And sometimes the calculation, the minimum wage raised with years, even though they audit for 3 years, but 2021 the wages is a lot lower. 2022 went up and now went up. So really, when we do the calculation, we actually go back to those times to look at the minimum wage at that time. So our client don't have to end up paying minimum wage for 2025 on 2021, right? So those are the things we actually, as a CPA, we will go in to review the mechanical calculation and clarify miscommunication. Maybe there's miscommunication of how the tips was distributed. Then we can help to, explain that to the investigator. So that is where your CPA comes in. It will work with the DOL investigator closely to get whatever misunderstood cleared, whatever miscalculated cleared. So your CPA don't have to agree with DOL investigators number. So obviously we don't agree, and because the investigator didn't even do interview on some of the businesses, so we don't think he knows what the employee were working, how much a break they're taking. So, but the DOL investigator is the one that will decide, I'm done talking to you, Ying, and I am sending my case to DOL attorney. So at that time, the DOL attorney will contact whoever the investigator was working with. In this case, could be a CPA firm. Then the idea is that to see whether the representative, the CPA firm, can work out the deal with the DOL attorney without going to court, without going to Department of Justice. So with that said, the case can be negotiated and completed at this point, or if the DOL attorney don't want to conclude the case, felt it is better to go to the court to debate that, then the DOL attorney would refer the case to the court. So of course, if it can be negotiated, done at this point, then you don't, as a business owner, you really don't need to hire a lawyer, right? Because you have your internal folks, you have your CPA firms, and worked with the investigator, and now work with DOL attorney and resolved it, so it's done. But what if the DOL attorney referred the case to the court? That is where you would have no choice but hire a attorney. So the business owner should start looking for a law firm, and that can represent the business in front of a judge. The attorney's role in DOL fair wage audit: legal interpretation of wage law. So, law is subject to interpretation. There are cases where, how the investigator calculating may not be the correct interpretation of the law. So the attorney is the one that legally trained, properly trained to challenge these interpretations. And privileged communication is also very important. And with attorneys, and you say what you say, but the attorney don't have to tell the court what you say. Attorney is the one that can protect your communication. And this is one of the most important distinctions between attorney-client privilege versus your communication with a CPA. All right? And then defense against allegations, of course, if you have an employee and cut their fingers and claiming they're only 14 years old, then your attorney would do investigation to make sure whether that is the case, whether you're really liable, act against the law. So responding to subpoena of formal investigation. If DOL issue a subpoena or initiate a formal investigation, the attorney can manage the response process. So like the one I talk about, he come over to your restaurant and talking to you really friendly and taking all the guardrails away, and you feel like you can share your heart with the investigator. So, but in this process, you will have the protection of the lawyers, and they will manage the investigation. They can make sure that the investigation, the interview with your employees are done properly with the attorney's involvement. Negotiating settlement and correcting actions, of course, that is in the previous slides I said that the CPA firm and the CPA folks like us, we can work with the attorney at DOL to come up with a resolution, negotiation, and completing the cases. But in the case that it doesn't work, and then you go to court, then you can still negotiate settlement and in court, right? Of course, this is with attorney, it's a risk management issue. I would say that if your CPA firm look at your case, goes, boy, is a kind of warns and you didn't do anything right, you had so much violation, you might even be in jail and things like that, then of course I think from get-go you should get an attorney and working with your internal accountant or what, because obviously your attorney office not going to be running your payroll, or they may not even in the business to do payroll, so they would need some expert assistance in that area. So our firm, we have served as in that capacity as well, be the expert to the attorney and for cases like this. So attorney would work with the CPAs that of their choice. So what can a CPA do? If you're saying that all of these things a lawyer do, and what do you do, right? What do a CPA do? And we can handle your payroll side of practice, right? Correctly, preventatively. So you don't have to go into this kind of turmoil and, just worried about being charged millions of dollars, right? And a payroll and timekeeping review we can make sure that your payroll and your hourly payment goes out correctly, properly. We can decide employee classification analysis. We can make sure that this is employee, not contractor, or that is contractor, not employee, right? Documentation, audit preparation, that's our cup of tea. We are all about prevention. And internal control and process improvement, we can actually come into your company and look at your internal control, making sure that your payroll is running properly. You're not paying some dude didn't even work there, and just because someone has a fraudulent doing on your book, right? So we tighten up your internal control, and we also, we also can work with your attorney. We don't provide legal representations. Of course, we are a CPA firm, and however, we do have a sister company, and that provides legal services. So that's why there are times, and you see us referring to attorneys, and we know attorneys in our practice. So it depends on what you're dealing with. Different attorney could be referred to you just because we know their track record, right? So the CPAs are the folks can proactively heal you. And you don't have to wait until you get that assessment to be panicking. And you want to preventatively start doing it right. I mean, if you really have a very messy past, I even tell you that just redo your company right now, because the small business environment today is much more volatile and much more non-forgiving comparing to last year before. And you know what I am talking about, so you want to take a note of that. This is why we keep on talking about things seems to not related to you. Trust me, if it is related to you, it might be too late. So you want to make sure that you control your narrative by looking at your payroll practice, how you pay workers, and don't let someone calling up DOL get you in trouble. I mean, you just do it right. Why do you have to do it wrong? If you feel like that's the only way you run business, shake your head and start from tomorrow or today, you're doing it right. If it is not right, you correct it. Trust me, this is how you can survive in today's environment. All right? Now, let me show you a chart. I know it's a little bit small, but I want you to see this. There's 3 columns. Criterias is 1 column, CPA is 1 column, attorney is 1 column. And I want you to look at the green checks, because those are the area the CPAs or the attorneys can perform. So let's go to the first one, payroll timekeeping analysis. So that CPA is expert in reviewing payroll system time record and wage calculation. So attorneys, not typically. Attorneys have so much areas they do, but they don't typically get involved with payroll. Employee classification, that part, CPAs can access exempt or non-exempt status, can assess exempt, non-exempt status, and the contractor and make the determination for you of the classification as well as the attorney. Legal defense and privileged communication. You see, under CPA is a check mark no, but under the lawyer is a green light. And responding to DOL request, you see both CPA and attorney can do. And the back wage calculation, that is calculated based on the payroll record, so the CPA firm does it. And the attorney firm normally relying on what was calculated by the CPA firm. Negotiating settlement, and that CPA part may assist, right? May assist with financial analysis. This is where I talk about when the case got referred from DOL investigator to the DOL attorney, there is a small window that the DOL attorney can decide whether they will just negotiate with the CPA firm and the business owner get it done, or it will be going to court. So that is there, a small window for you to do that. But on the attorney side, you can lead to negotiation and legal resolution, absolutely. And litigation and enforcement, not a CPA's job, but is 100% attorney's job. So this chart will give you an idea. So if you learn nothing today, just this chart can help you to know which number to dial, right? Knowing your situation, know who can do what, then you can call up the number to say, hey, I need attorney because it is already assessed. The DOL attorney already said that case is submitted to the court. So those are the things you will do. How to prevent, really, how to prevent. I just want to say that, like I mentioned earlier, just do it right. Don't let yourself carried away by the fact that you have a friend who are doing it wrong and never got caught. So lucky. Maybe he is relatives of President Trump, So you don't want to refer to your friend. You don't know who they are. But you don't want to refer to your past as well because it's not relevant. Right now, the President of the United States is Donald Trump. It's not somebody else. So you want to follow the rules and regulations laid out for the small businesses, and you just don't have a choice. You need to do it right. So by saying that, I am no difference, right? We are professional firms. We always tell people to do it right. But in the past, the implementation, the compliance side was just not there. People do it wrong. Nobody catch them. And so they do it wrong. But right now, this is not invented by President Trump. This whole thing is already in place. Already. It's just who implemented, who is doing it, right? So now the government is carry on for immigration rates, and the carry on for DOL audit is all targeted at the core for non-documented immigrants. So just know that, and you need to do it right. Conclusion. Now you know if you get investigated by DOL from the wage hour division, you know what to do, right? You know what is your first step. You can always check with us, with Community CPA, to help you decide what is your first step, okay? With the knowledge you gain today, you won't do it wrong. You know what to do. The business environment, again, is not the same as it was yesterday for small business owners. Get your payroll compliance review done today. And if you go, where do I get that done? Community CPA offers that. We offer a payroll compliance review package for businesses who are not sure about whether they are okay or not. Come to us, we help you. We make sure you're okay. All right. Desire to know more? You can go to our website. These are partners we have. And you notice that the second partner we have on there, Dan Kim, and he has a free discovery session. You just make a call with him, video call, and talk about your cases, and he'll tell you whether, to work with us or refer you out, or you don't need any professional help. You can do it yourself. We are very big at doing it yourself. And this whole webinar stuff we have on YouTube channel is all about to let you do it yourself. It is definitely not a marketing tool for community CPA, and we spend too much time to make this a marketing tool. But we spend this time to save our community, to save the people who are in this kind of small business running, and educate them so we all know what to do. Then we can survive in any weather that giving upon to us, right? All right. Our last slide is about our YouTube channel again. Subscribe to our channel. We are ranking up to 7,000 subscribership, and I thought our content is so useful. We should have 7 million, but no, not so. So I hope that you can spread the word for us. Have your friend who are in business subscribe to our channel to learn more. Knowledge is the power. If you know more, you know what to do, you survive better, or you thrive easier, right? So email Catherine at communitycpa.com and call our number 515-288-3188. We operate 6 days a week. The only CPA firm in United States of America regularly open 6 days a week. We'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.